All right, let's get started. Hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening to everyone joining us from the different part of this country. Thank you for taking the time to attend this webinar. We are really excited to have you join us for the first in a series of informative and interactive webinar. Today, you will learn more about holistic identity and how it addresses the challenges of customer data management that we face today. At Affinity, we are looking to change the way we think about digital identity. We wanted to empower each of us to reclaim ownership and control of our data that enables seamless, more privacy preserving digital experiences. I'm also excited that we will be able to get hands on with the product and services we have built for developer using holistic identity to create a better experience for your customer. I am Grajesh Chandra, the lead solution architect at Affinity. I love solving hard problems and have been doing this for more than 12 years now. With me is my colleague Parmesh. Hi, Parmesh.
Hi, thanks, Gajesh. Hi, everyone. Welcome to the session. I'm Parmesh, the lead solution architect at Affinity. I've got 18 years of experience and I love to do hands-on and I love to explore it. So I'm sure this session will help you to learn the new things. Thank you.
Thank you, Parmesh. So let's dive in and explore how this cutting edge solution can revolutionize your approach to data management and consumer engagement. Thank you once again for being here, and let's get started. But before we start, few housekeeping rules. There will be a certificate of attendance, which will be shared on your email 1 or 2 days after the webinar. The recording of the session will be available on the Affinity website soon. We will have Q&A session in the end, but keep asking question in the Q&A tab. We will reply to you or take the question at the end. We will also have a fun interactive quiz immediately after this webinar on Discord. So I urge and encourage each one of you to take part in that quiz and become part of the wider community of Discord. In today's webinar, we will see how a consumer onboarding and a complexity of customer data collection and utilization of this data from the consumer side. What changed from the traditional web model to decentralized identity and data ownership. We'll also learn about decentralized technologies. We will look into the holistic identity and the use of zero-party data. In the customer data management, we'll also see the holistic view of collect, store, and share from the Affinity Trust Network. And it will be followed by a demo, a reflection, and a question and answer. So with this, let me hand it to Parmesh and take you on this learning curve. Over to you, Parmesh.
Thanks, Gajesh. Today, we are looking into how business gathers customer data. They use methods like cookie tracking, form filling, IP tracking to collect the detailed information. And they also analyze your behaviors and interactions with the third-party components, accounts to understand customer habits and preferences, right? So as you know, once the data is collected, the data is stored in the centralized location. This centralized location makes it easier to manage, enhances security, and also helps companies to follow regulations. However, while these centralized storage systems support large-scale operations, right? So they often only get general consent from the consumer, not the consent with the detailed piece by piece. This raises a privacy concerns. To address these challenges, business must not only implement stringent access controls, but also rethink their initial data gathering strategies to ensure maintain trust and adhere to legal standards. This may involve reevaluating the type of amount their data collect they do it to better align with the consumer expectations and legal standards. Let's see. The business struggle to get a complete view of their customers because data is isolated across different platforms like social media, financial institutions, e-commerce sites. Each track your different behaviors, but the data is not interconnected. This fragmentation prevents business from fully understanding the complete consumer behaviors and delivering personalized experiences. Everyone knows part of you, right? For example, your YouTube knows your favorite videos, Amazon knows your buying habits, Spotify knows your music preferences, etc. However, this data is not shared at all across between the platforms. This will give us the limited personal experiences and affecting business decisions. Let's see, in a system-centric design, the user data is fragmented across several service providers and their databases, like we saw in the previous slide. User has to log into the systems to collect this data, right? But in the decentralized system, we turn this upside down. It means that user data will be stored in their personal data store. Instead of you logging into the site, the website will log into you. And most of you are all developers, so you might get a lot of questions like, what is this personal data store? How this application interacts with the personal data store? How do I store the data? How do I share the data? What should be the data type of that, etc. Right? The beauty of this decentralized tech is that there are protocols and standards which define how the data model should look like and how this data should be transferred between the systems, everything. And we'll talk about these standards in just a moment. I just want to give literally quickly look at the experience of the customer sharing their data. We'll also cover how the developers like you can create a similar experience in your applications. We'll unbundle piece by piece in the next 45 minutes, so stay with us. Let's imagine you have already have an application, you logged into that application and you have completed the onboarding process. Now the e-commerce application wants to request a person to give a personal experiences. He wants your gender and date of birth from the consumer. The consumer shares the data with their consent, and your cart will show your personalized experiences based on that. Here you got a personal experiences based on your data share.
That's look pretty simple, Parmesh, but what I see in the experience video is that user shares some data from personal data store. Can you please explain what is this personal data store?
Yeah, Grajesh, yes. It uses a personal data store. I'll explain in coming slides. Yeah, just before that, let's understand how the traditional website stores the data, right? We discussed already, there is a website which reads the data and distributes it to consumer via the internet. This centralized storage method introduces several challenges, right? Like you have a single point of failure, your risk of data breaches, your legal and regulatory issues of storing customer PA data, personal information. Then we moved from that monolithic to microservices and we used single page applications, right? Where the data is stored in multiple pieces, which gives you high availability, scalability, etc. Even in these storage methods, introduces similar challenges. The customer data ownership lies with the websites, and still they have to follow these regulatory issues of storing customers' PA data. What we move this users data to the consumer side, let consumer take the ownership of the data, like this. In decentralized solution, user data is moved from the organization to the consumer side. The data being stored at the consumer side. Here, the user acts as the API or a database. You can think of it like that. The websites interact with this data vault using open standards, and the consumer can share the data with the explicit consent. So this approach resolves trust issues, regulatory concerns about storing API data, and allows a fine-grained consent management. We saw earlier how business gather customer data and its challenges, right? So instead of relying cookies, tracking, browser history, etc., with a recent solution, business can ask the data to the consumer. Consumer can share the data with their consent. And this method ensures your trusted experiences and business can give you personalized experiences. So as you saw in the experience video, we have a personal data store, which is an affinity vault. This affinity vault enables you to discover, collect, store, share, and monetize your data in this fragmented world. By leveraging these decentralized technologies, Affinity Vault empowers greater control, follows privacy by design principles, and prioritizes user-centric at the core. So Affinity Vault comes up with a web and mobile app experiences to quickly onboard users into Affinity Trust Network. The vault stores this data securely on the local storage on your device. Using open standards, business can request the data and the consumers can share the data with their consent, of course.
Thanks, Mish. I have now understood personal data storage is your affinity vault, which is at edge, but how it is different from application which stores customer data.
Yeah, Grajesh, yes. See, this affinity vault, we can say how different it is the affinity vault is built on using decentralized tech and open standards. Let me tell you what is this decentralized tech and what are its benefits. This will get interesting here. So there are main two building blocks of decentralized tech. One is decentralized identifier, which we call it as a DID, DID. And the second one is verifiable credentials, VCs. We call it as a VCs. Let's understand what is this exactly. DID. DID is a type of unique identifier in the internet, and it is not tied to any provider. Note that your Gmail ID, your Facebook ID, etc., all are unique. Understand that. But remember, this is all tied to a specific provider. When you create a DID, it gives you a public private key. You can encrypt the data using this public private key and share the data to any other party. They can verify the data using this public private key, using this public key, actually. So who holds this private key is the owner of the DID. And we can create as many DIDs as you wanted using open source libraries. Like if I wanted to give an example, like how you generate a RSA key pair on your local machine. There is some open SSH tools, there is some SSH generator, there are some tools like that, right? Which on your local machine using some simple command line, it will generate you public private keys. The similar way, using open source libraries, you can generate DIDs. So DIDs follows the URI format, like HTTP or website URL follows this same URI format. Similarly, DID also follows the same format. It consists of three parts. One is scheme. In this case, it is DID always. The second part is the DID methods. So in this case, example, we have used DID key. There are many methods like DID method, DID ion, DID Bitcoin, like that, DID sovereign, DID Zolo. There are hundreds of it. And the last part is the identifier in the particular DID methods. In this case, whatever the identifier you saw is the unique identifier in the DID method, which is called key here. Let's say if you type any URL in the browser, generally it resolves to a web page, right? You'll get a web page from the server, right? Similarly, if you resolve with this DID, you'll get a DID document, which contains a public key and the type of algorithm used for verification, etc. Now, the next one is verifiable credentials. So I'll say, okay, like in physical world, we have a documents like driving license, right? That includes the type of document. In this case example, if you see in the slide, it is a driving license on the left side, which is a physical document. And it has a claims like your name, your date of birth, etc. And also it contains the issue details, which is who has issued this and when is it is issued and what is the expiry date as well. And also it contains a proof, which contains like hologram, your some ID number, your card size, quality, etc. Right? If I ask, do you have anything similarly in the internet, in the digital world? That is where the verifiable credentials. It is, think of it as a simple JSON document, which is as per the W3C specification standards. It also contains three sections. One is credential metadata. This contains a type of document, whether it's a driving license or a passport, etc. And it talks about the schema. This driving license should contain what kind of data elements. And the next is the claims. It talks about the information about yourself, like in physical world, your name, age, etc. Then the last one is proof. It contains a digital signature of your data. If anyone modifies the data with the proof, you can verify that it has been tampered or not. If I give an example, which is something similar, you can think of it as a JSON web token, JWT, JOT tokens, we will call it as, right? That also contains a header, payload, and signature. Similarly, you can verify this VC using open source libraries without needing any intermediary. That is what I'm stressing. We don't need to integrate with any API or anybody. without intermediary, we can verify this VC using open source libraries. That's why we call it as a trusted data. Note, say example, your Aadhaar, your passport, your digital document is not a VC. It's just a digital copy. To verify these documents, usually you need to call a particular API, or you need to call a government. You need to integrate with some third-party systems, right? I would say the best example for COVID vaccination certificates is the issued by Government of India, or underlying it uses a verifiable credentials. So I know we have talked about a lot of things like your affinity vault, decentralized stake, deeds, VCs, etc. Let me show you in practical how it looks like. So I'm just stopping the slide. So let me show you the first of your affinity vault. Okay, so this is my vault, affinity vault. Yeah. See, as a first step, generally you have to do a registration process. During registration process, it creates a DID for you. I have already registered here, which saves time. So now you can unlock this using biometrics. So I'm putting my fingerprint. Now it unlocks my vault. Once if you unlock this with the vault, you'll get a private key, access to the private key of your DID. And with the DID, the data is encrypted. Now, as we have unlocked it, now you can see the data. So this vaults come with the default data. You can enter manually your name, your contact details, etc. And let me show you the DID. This is the DID which is created during the registration process. This is the DID key. We are using the DID method key. Advantage is that it doesn't require to resolve. You don't need to use of any blockchain or any other thing. It works with off-chain support. Let me show you how to resolve this. So I'll copy this DID. I'll go to, see, there are so many tools, online tools are there, libraries are there. So there is one online tool where you can specify your DD here. You can resolve. So look at this. There are so many DID methods here. Now look at this DID document. This is the DID document, which says the same thing. It says that this is your DID, and it has the verification method. This is the public. Right? This is how you resolve the your DID. Then let me show you how the VC looks like. So let me go to Affinity portal. Yeah. So I'll go to credential verification. I'll show you the sample VC. If you look at, this is one sample VC, which we here in this case example, this is the email VC. Here, if you talk about, you see this the schema URL, which talks about what this particular email VC should contain attributes. And it tells about what is the type of the VC, unique identifier of the VC, the holder. In this case, it is issued to this particular DID example. This is the DID holder. And what is the claims about that VC? So in this case, the claim is it just has an email and its schema, and when it has been issued, is there any expiry or not? Who is the issuer of this? And this is where the proof is. Let me try to verify it. When you click submit, generally it will say that it will be verified. So in this case, it says valid. Imagine if I try to tamper this. Say example, in the email ID, I will say something like that. Now when I click this, it says that it has been tampered. So it says the proof did not match with the whatever the data we got. Right? Let me roll back it. In the same context, I want to show you what is the verifiable presentation as well. Right? In simple words, verifiable presentation is nothing but a collection of VCs. Assume that you have a driving license VC, you have a date of birth VC. Now, this both you wanted to present it to somebody, that you will hold this both VCs together and you wanted to present, means that is where verifiable presentation will come into picture. It contains, see this, it contains a VCs. In this case, it contains a presentation with VC, one VC, which is called email VC. And again, when you're presenting, it says that your holder and your VC holder should match. That is how they know that, okay, whoever is presenting is what the owner of the VCs. Right? If you tamper anything here, obviously your VCs will mismatch, your VP will mismatch, right? So let's come back to the slide deck. Let's say what we just saw. So we saw Affinity Vault, which is a personal data store at the edge. And it uses a decentralized tech, DID and verifiable credentials underlying. So Affinity Vault creates a decentralized identifier, and underlying all the data you see is like you can store in a VC format. During registration, data is created and your private key is in the deed. It will never leave the device. This is the stress point, which is saying that your deed private key will never leave your device. It will be always on your laptop, on your mobile device. And your data is always encrypted with your private key. And this vault can be unlocked using your biometric or face recognition. And data will never leave your device without your consent. So when you wanted to share the data to any party, always you have to give a consent before sharing the data.
That's pretty cool, Parmesh. Now I have my data in my personal storage, which is at edge. Where do I use this data? Can I use it for authentication? Can I share it for, sharing it with the businesses? Can we perform onboarding with this data? What are the benefit of this, direct sharing with the businesses?
Yeah, Rajesh, thank you. So there are a lot of questions here. Yes, we'll answer one by one. So we have a lot of suite of products which helps developers to use this data for sign-in, sign-ups, or autofill any forms, or for authentication, for everything, right? Let me show you one by one. Okay, introducing Affinity Login. Affinity Login enhances security, privacy, and ensures compatibility with industry standards while simplifying authentication process. With Affinity Login, you can create a secure, user-friendly login experience by using OID for VP standards. Let's see what is this, how it works. So most of us are developers here, and we already have an experience with social logins such as Google, Facebook, Twitter, etc., right? Which uses a federated identity model where your identity lies with the identity and personal information, especially lies is stored with the third party identity provider. And they will communicate that with this OIDC protocol, right? We at Affinity, what we want to do is we want to reimagine the role of the identity provider. We place the user at the center and make them identity provider. In this case, data comes from the user itself. Well, Affinity Login acts as a transport layer between your relying party and the Affinity Vault. And this is purely based on open standards, like OID for VP, which is an extension to the OIDC protocol. So if I say, what's the difference? In OIDC protocol, you will share the data as a plain data. But in OID for VP, we'll share the trusted data, which I explained earlier, verifiable presentation data. Which if anyone gets the data, they don't need to, they can verify that without any intermediaries. And this all protocols is built on OpenID foundations and DAF, Decentralized Identity Foundation team. These are all open standards. Now that what it means for developers, it requires to integrate this Affinity login. Will it take a lot of time? There is a lot of changes I have to do. Can I integrate with any existing login? If you have all questions like this, as a relying party, you would continue using OIDC and leave the heavy lifting to Affinity. So we'll take care of everything. And the full flow will be like this. The relying party initiates the request, which is auth code flow. Affinity Vault login uses OIDP to query the data to the vault. User provides a consent and shares the data to the Affinity login. And Affinity login will get the data from the vault in a trusted data, and it verifies the data and it creates an ID token out of it, and it sends back to the relying party. And then relying party can onboard the user. Here, if you look at this here, login configuration, it is similar like in OIDC. How do you create a login configuration in Google developer portal? You'll get a client ID secret. It's the same way configuration. We have to create it as a preset. The open standards like OIDC, OID for VP offer several benefits. One, it provides the developers, consumers more choices, more options. Establishes trust because we are using open standards. It is transparent. And it allows developers and user to share knowledge because it has a good community support. We use MFAs, right? Multi-factor authentication. It just adds an extra protection layer and it makes other people to make it too hard to break this, right? Affinity login, you can think of it as also like that. So because it uses a biometric and the cryptography for adding extra security and privacy on your data. The future of passwordless is here. So if you are a startup and if you want to directly use Affinity login for your application and identity management, you can leverage all these features with this passwordless authentication solution. And with this, you can seamlessly sign in, sign up with one-click onboarding. You can do checkouts, fulfillment, any auto-filling forms. You can do that. You can request data from the consumer shares the data, and you're done. In case if you're using any existing identity provider like Keycloak, Cognito, Auth0, etc., Affinity login can be easily plugged in into that as an additional social login. You don't need to, you see, we are not replacing Google login or Facebook login. We can add as this as an extra login authentication mechanism. And you can use the same benefits. Let's see this example. I'll show you. One second, I'm stopping the slide. Okay, so this is one simple okay, this is one simple your cart application which is running in my local host, which is having some products, like we have products for men and women, everything, right? Let me show you how the current existing login works generally. That's all most of the websites will have, right? So when you go to the sign up, you will see it asks for your name, email, password, etc. And when you go to the next step, generally some people will ask for address, and there are maybe so many websites even still ask further more information, right? So this multi-step process, which leads to funnel drops. So some people will tired of this too many forms and they will drop off. But advantage with this Affinity login is, you can get this data on one shot. So as a developer, you can decide what kind of data you wanted to get during the login time. So let me try with Affinity login. So when you click on Affinity login, so the request, see here is the Affinity login, which acts as an intermediary. Affinity logins request the data to the vault. In this case, I'm using the Chrome extension. So the request comes to the vault and it identifies that your card requires these are the below data they are requesting. As a developer, you can define what are the data points you wanted. And users can give their consent and the data will be shared back to the Affinity login. Affinity login will share their ID token back to the relying party using OpenID standards. And you see, now user is logged in. Now they got a profile picture, they got in this case, we got an email, contact information, etc. Similarly, you can request any kind of data with one single click, no passwords involved, which is a beautiful, seamless login experience. Assume that you want to get some other data. For example, before that, let me show you how the login configuration looks like. So this is where your Affinity portal, which I showed you, this is the developer portal where you can go and log into that application, portal.affinity.com. You can go and create a login configuration. So when you click this login configuration, so you can create as many login configuration you wanted. So typical like how normal login configuration, this is also same thing. It contains, let me edit and show you, it contains what name to be displayed and what is the callback URL you wanted to get back to the relying party, and etc., and what is the authentication you wanted to say it. Most important part is here is what kind of data you wanted. This you will specify this in a format called PEX, presentation exchange definition. It is also decentralized identity foundation open standards. It's a way of standardize. Let me give an example. So assume you have a database. If you wanted to get the data from the database, generally what will you do? We will write an SQL queries and we'll get the data from the database, right? Think of it similar like this. You replace the database with your list of VCs, verifiable credentials, and you'll replace this with SQL queries with a PEX. It's simple. In PEX, you'll define the constraints, what you wanted to type of data. And there are open source libraries which takes this input as a PEX. And if you give the data set to that, and it return you the matched VCs out of it. So in this example, we are requesting for an email VC. Look at that. I ask for constraints. I specify 3 constraints. One, it says my VC should be of type email. Second thing, my VC should have a claim called email in the credential subject. And my issuer should be some XYZ, in this case, Affinity. You can give as many. In fact, you can even say that, okay, my email should be of this, but also should ends with like only Google emails only I will accept. You can define. As a developer, you have full flexible choices you can define. And similarly, you can add as many data points you wanted. And on top of that, what we have given is we have given a flexibility to the developer itself to define how your ID token mapping should be. You can define your custom ID token mapping. In this case, I defined my email should be from this VC. I wanted set it to this attribute of ID token. Similarly, I wanted to get a type from the VC and I wanted to set it to this object in the ID token. In ID token, you will get a custom object, which is of array. In that, there will be one value of type. Similarly, there is one more array item, which is called issuer. Right? This is the Affinity login configuration. So let's come back to the portal. So we saw the Affinity login experience, right? So now, what if I wanted to get directly data from the vault without any Affinity login or anything like this, right? So for that, we have even created a simple libraries where you can interact with the vault directly. So in this example, I wanted to request a address so that I can know that whether you want to deliver it to the USA or India location, right? Of course, this you can even get this from directly from the as part of onboarding process also. In fact, I'm just showing you a use case where you can request directly without Affinity login. So like this, let me click on this or any here thing. So here the request goes to the, as a developer, I've written a PEX query to get an address. So that request goes back to the vault. Vault it identifies, it runs a PEX query on your data on your local machine. It finds a matched VCs if there are any, and it will show you the consent screen. Let me show you that. Yeah. So it showed me a consent screen. That so an application is asking for email, it is asking for address. If as a user, if you say allow access, your data will be shared back as a VP format to the relying party. Relying party can verify using open source library and they can give some experiences. Right? See here, let me show you the profile page. Now we got email earlier. Now we got even address. Right? Let me show you some kind of personalized experiences. So as a your card here, I can show the recommendations based on if you share your date of birth and gender, I can show you the personalized experience. I can only filter out only the products related to your gender and age. In such cases, here when I click these recommendations, I define requesting for a date of birth and age. So now when I click this, the request goes to again to the vault. I'm sorry here. 1 second, I'll try again. Okay, so the request goes to the vault again. Vault will run the PEX query and it identified that you have a date of birth and you can share these two. Now request data goes back to the same relying party and relying party can show you the personalized experience on your product. And in fact, you know that my date of birth and they given me a promo code based on my birth month of it. See, this is what we call it as a personal experience based on the use cases. Let's come back to the slide. Back. So what we saw is an e-commerce application, yourcard.com. It is offering a passwordless login experiences and data is shared with the user consent. And Affinity login is built on open standards called OID for VP. And we saw that personalized experiences with the zero party data means it came directly from the consumer, such as like date of birth here and gender. Moving to the next. Yeah, Grajesh, go ahead.
That's pretty nice, Pamesh. Now I understand that we use this data for login and Open Standard provide options to reuse this data again, while the can be verified on the fly. But there are limited set of data available in Affinity Vault. And
Yes.
can I also add other trusted data issued by any third-party providers? Or is there a way to add more data to this affinity vault?
Yes, Rajesh. Because see, we don't want to limit only to the vault with just a personal information and contact information, right? It is we wanted to get the data as much as possible to the vault, right? So for that, there is a way which we have did that. So you can get the data from the third party, and we can store the data in your personal vault, right? Let me show you that. So there is a service called Affinity Credential Issuance Service. This service provides an application to issue a VC, and user claim this VC. And again, I'm saying this is again using open standards. So that is one thing. We are always uses open standards protocols. So in the physical world, you know that to get a passport, there is a government has given a particular process to get a passport, right? Like you will go and submit an application, and you get the required documents from them. And I mean, you have to submit some documents to them, supporting documents, and they will do some verifications, and the passport will be delivered to your home, right? Similarly, there is an open standard called OAD for VCI. Okay, this provides what it provides is it provides a how to get a digital document like this verifiable credentials that can be reused and shared for this authenticity in digital world. So there is a standard process defined by this particular protocol how to get a VC and how to claim the VC. Let me explain you how it works. The credential issuance service uses OID for VCA protocol to securely issue verifiable credentials to the digital wallet like Affinity Vault. Using these open standards, it provides a secure issuance and claims, and you can issue VC from whichever the method you wanted. Example, if you want to issue VC from your DID key or DID method, I said, right, there are so many DIDs like that. And it's all with a W3C compliant. Let me show you what is this OID for VCA flow looks like. You are already familiar with social logins, right? Like Facebook, Google, with uses OIDC for VP flow, OIDC flow, right? Using this flow, generally you will get an ID token back from the identity provider, right? This is also similar. But here, OIDC is built on top of the OAuth flow, same way. But specifically, this facilitates the issuance and acceptance of verifiable credentials. That's the difference here. So here, if you look at in this diagram, so there are three. This is the diagram I got from the below link, which is from the Open Foundation link, right? And there are three parties in this flow. One is a consumer, a digital wallet, like in this case, example, in our case, Affinity Vault, and the issuer. It could be a business, organization, government, could be anybody. The flow is like this. So end user, consumer requests a data that I want a particular driving license VC to the issuer. The issuer gets the request. He will validate the request that whether whatever the data is requested is validates everything with their systems, everything. And they will validate. Once that is done, they will send a credential offer back to the consumer. Consumer will accept this offer by providing the proof of profession. And then issuer validates this proof, then sends a VC as a response to the consumer. And finally, consumer stores the VC in the vault. Let's see, if you wanted to become an issuer, what are the steps high level? So this we categorize into three steps. One, you need to set up issuance configuration. So Affinity Tools provides you to, if you want to become an issuer now using Affinity Tools, you can do that in very simple three steps. One, you can set up a configuration using Affinity Portal. You can log into that, create a key pair for signing VCs, because every VC has to be signed by given by the issuer, right? So you should have a DID for you. As issuer, you should have a DID. And you can define what is the validity of the user and what are the schemas it supports. Like example, you are eligible as an issuer, I want to issue a employment VC and something like training certificates, something like that. And the second one is a create credential offer. Using tools now with the Affinity tool libraries, issuer can generate a credential offer whenever a customer asks one. And the last step is the consumer accept this offer and stores in the Affinity Vault. Let me show you the demo, how it looks like. I'm sharing my screen again. So there is we have already showed this portal, right? Yourcart.com. Now, see, Diorcart has decided that okay, I will give you personal experiences and discounts if you prove me that if you share the data that you have did a transaction from some different websites. That's how Yourcart has some functionality, like some business requirement. So now, as a user, I have logged into another website, which is a Shopify website. Okay, here I have a products. I have logged into the system and I made a purchases. I have a few orders placed, right? Now I'll go to the few orders. So now this Shopify guy is ready to issue a VC based on the orders you purchased it. Let's look at this because he is become a part of issuer now. Let me open one VC. So one order, sorry. I'll opening the order. Here they gave one option. You see this request order VC. And this is my did key, basically. I am the holder who logged in. That's why I got a did VC. Now, when you request for this using OpenID for VCA standards, this particular Shopify is giving you a VC, and then you can store this VC in your vault. And you can use that for sharing to your cart application to get the personal experiences or discounts. Let me request a VC. So when you click this underline, we are using Affinity Services APIs. And here is the additional security. To claim a VC, generally you should have a transaction code. It's not a mandatory, it's an optional. It is as per the standards actually. So when you click this save to vault, it redirects back to you to your Affinity vault where you can enter. See, I'm showing this URI, everything here. Ideally, this will not be the experience you will see. I made it a customization to this so that you can see what is the underlying, what is happening. So when you click the accept offer, using again OpenID for the standards, your offer, you will get a VC response from the issuer. Let me show you that. Once that is there, and now the data is showed. This is the VC which we got received from the issuer. So look at this. It says that its schema is of type order VC, and this is the schema. You can go inside this and you can find out what are the attributes you should contain, what are the everything related to that. And this is the claims. In this case, it has order delivery, what is the order number, what are the items order that you ordered, what's its price, etc., etc., and who issued it is, and who it is issued to the which holder. In this case, mine. Right now, let me go to the your card. Now, in my vault, I already have an online VC. Let me go to this card, and now here, if you look at this is the feature they have implemented it. What this is that if you share the data from the other partners, I can give you discounts. So when you click this, now what we're doing is we are requesting a order VC from the consumer. Now consumer has this vault. This vault has the data. Now we can share the data. When you click this allow access, now you're sharing this order trusted data to the particular your cart in this case. Now they can give you a discount. I've just printed this whatever the order data which you received it here. See like this. Now if you go to your products page, now you would have got some, I just applied some 5% discount in this case because you shared the transaction data, something like this. Like this, you can give any kind of experiences based on the data you require from the land. And all the data is a trusted data, verifiable credentials data. So I'll switch back to the slide back. Go to the slide deck. Okay, what we just saw. So we saw a software website which issued a verifiable credentials. In this case, order VC, order transaction data, using OpenID for VCA standards. And we store as a customer, I stored that in my vault. And your card website has requested this data to show the personal experiences or discount. And I forgot to show this, right? Let me show you how to create this configuration. I'll just give a bit moment. Okay, this is our Affinity portal. Sorry. So here, as a issuer, if you want to become an issuer, you can log into this portal.affinity.com. You can go and create a configuration. In this case, I already created a configuration. You can even create your own custom schema. Let's say example, I want to issue a university degree. So you can say this, okay, I want to give university And you can specify what attribute it should contain. It should contain name. You can add one more attribute. You can say that what is a student name, etc. You can define your custom nested. You can create everything. You can define your own schema of what the data type you wanted to issue. And this is wallet is what is the key pair. What is the key pair I should use to sign that VC? You can define that. Now in your credential issuance, you go and create a configuration. Says that okay. Let me open it, please. Okay, this is the wallet. Use this for signing VC, and this is the schemas which I'll support. As issuer, I'll issue a VC of order VC and identity profile. In this case, example, right? This is how you can become an issuer. And if you want to learn more about this, we have a, you can go to docs.affinity.com, where you can see how the Affinity login works, what is this Affinity Vault, and what is this wallets, what is the Affinity portal. And in fact, we have created so many labs in different technologies like this. If you want to experience integrate Affinity login with your application, we have created so many labs, like you can create on Next.js, React, Python, so many. And we have created some use cases also. If you want to integrate your Affinity login with Shopify, WordPress, Wix, etc., you can walk through this and you can, with simple, with 15-20 minutes, we can integrate Affinity login with any websites. So I'm coming back to the slide deck. Right, we saw how to create a schema and issuance configuration which supports custom schemas. And thanks all. Hope you have learned something new today. If you have any questions, please post this in a Q&A chat. And I request the Rajesh to provide more information about the Affinity products and services.
Thank you,
Thanks.
Pamesh.
Thank you, buddy.
Thanks for this insightful journey. A lot of details to digest today. Affinity is helping make the life of developer and consumer easier and frictionless with their products. You already heard about holistic identity from Parmesh earlier, right? So holistic identity is something, it gives a 360-degree view of themselves online while the consumer remain in control of their data. This allows consumer to discover, collect, share, store, and even monetize the data in the digital world. Next slide, please. Thank you, Pamesh. To bring the concept of holistic identity to life, we at Affinity creating Affinity Trust Network, a decentralized solution designed to revolutionize how businesses collect and interact with customer data in today's landscape. By placing the consent at the core of the data exchange, we ensure that customer data is handled ethically and transparently. It builds trust and fosters stronger customer relationship. With Affinity Trust Network, business can unlock holistic customer insight, gather data with consent, transparency, and trust. It can empower business with reliable data. With the Affinity Trust Network, business can gain access to a reliable stream of data, which is driven by consent, what we call as a zero-party data. So what is this Affinity Trust Network? Affinity Trust Network is a suite of product like Affinity Connector, which is provide a secure integration with the various data source that enables business to connect seamlessly with data environment. You have Affinity Concierge, a personalized AI that manages data according to the values and their preferences. You have Affinity Login. You have already seen the experience. It enables passwordless authentication solution for one-click sign-in, sign-up, and onboarding. You have Affinity IOTA framework, which is coming soon. The framework supports the collection, storage, and sharing of data within the consent boundary. You already have seen uses of Affinity Vault, which is a consumer personal data store where they securely store the data. This vault support various type of data like your public, your protected, your private data, and it can be any source of data. It can be a zero-party data, it can be first-party data, it can be a verified profile as well, and any third-party details as well. The next is your Affinity messaging, which enables secure and verifiable communication between sender and receiver, which enhance trust in the digital communication. Today we are scammed with a lot of text messaging and everything. Affinity messaging is going to resolve those same. This ensures the message within the network are authentic and trustworthy. And we have Affinity business portal or developer portal. These portal provide businesses with access to the tools and services such as your data request, your consent log, your trusted messaging, your analytics, integration capabilities, etc., etc. This helps businesses understand the customer, that build first, trust and reduce data risk, and leverage open and extendable technologies. Affinity Trust Network facilitate data exchange across various sectors like e-commerce, health, gaming, travel, etc., etc. It can ensure the data shared within the network is verified and trusted, supporting a range of business applications and services. We can explore more use case with this Affinity Trust Network. The one which Parmesh already shared is e-commerce, right? We have already seen how the tailored experience by providing personalized product recommendation, promotion, and offer by simple sharing the data. It enables customer to discover product they truly desire. So, like you have seen, like you have shared your preferences like date of birth and gender. It's only tailored the experience according to what you need. For instance, you wanted to understand your more customer preferences and your purchase history. You recommended the product the way the most relevant to them. It increases satisfaction and it drives more sales toward it. This can be extended to other use cases, like I mentioned, travel and hospitality, where you personalize every journey by providing recommendation on travel itineraries and accommodation to provide more memorable experiences. For example, if I am a customer who is a frequent traveler, went to certain destination, you can offer tailored, travel package, suggest some activities and accommodation that can make their preferences. The level of personalization enhance the overall travel experience and encourage repeat businesses. And it, like I said, it can be, it can be extended to subscription services, can be moved to employee service. And if you find like you have any other use case with you, you can always connect with us and we can brainstorm on the use case. Like Parmesh mentioned, you can start building your application within 15 minutes. You can integrate Affinity login within 15 minutes. You have seen the documentation. It has comprehensive guide and a use case defined for different application altogether. We have developer tools like Affinity Portal, Affinity CLI, which is a graphical user interface and a command line interface for the developer like you. So you can explore. It gives all your support which we have in the Affinity product and services in a minimal code line. We do in-person meetups and social demos on like LinkedIn and Facebook, and we regularly do this webinar to make our product more visible to the customer outside. So what we have seen in last 15 minutes is how businesses collect and store data in today's world. We have seen how decentralized solution enable customer to take a leading role in digital transaction by using their personal data store. Affinity Vault provides secure personal storage for user, allowing data to be shared based on their consent using open standard like OID for VP. One of the use case for data storage is one of the use case for data stored in Affinity login is Affinity login, which used for onboarding purpose. We have also seen how many a trusted issuer can use trusted data for consumer in Affinity Vault using open standard like OID for VCI. And finally, we have seen Affinity Trust Network ecosystem can help businesses collect, interact with customer data in today's digital landscape. So this brings to the end of this session. We would like to give us a feedback on the content of today's session and also share any topic that would you like to hear from Affinity in the upcoming webinar. Scan this QR code on your screen and help us make this session more useful for you. If anybody have any questions from the audience, okay to take.
I think there were a couple of questions on what programming languages does Affinity support. So do you want to elaborate a little bit on that, Grajesh, Parmesh?
Okay, so Affinity, the tools that we have built in, and so it is basically built on the open standard. So whatever technology that you use, it's behind the scene is the API back layer. So whether you wanted to use via Affinity Portal or Affinity CLI, it does all the heavy lifting for you. In terms of languages that we support, So we have given support for Next.js, your TypeScript, or you can use in Python, you can use in .NET, you can use in for anything. So it's just the ability. Like I said, we have this, it integrates to any platform who supports the OIDC framework for Affinity login. So it supports any platform. So it is not restricted, but the guides are available online for in the docs doc website, and you can refer it to it.
Yeah, I think if you go to docs.affinity.com, there is a section called languages, and what
Yes.
Gurjesh just said, you'll be able to see labs on Python, .NET, React, any other main languages, major languages where we have given step-by-step tutorials. So that was one. And the other, I think we can take one more question is, does this all align with the privacy guidelines announced by Indian government, or for example any other governments, right? So that is what people would like to know.
Right. So you see, the DPDPA regulations state that no organization or no businesses can hold PII data within their system. But there are some if and else clause, right? There are certain conditions to it. But we are not holding any data from Affinity side, and that's the message we wanted to give it back to you. Like, it's you who holding the data, it's not Affinity. We have given an ability or capability to the end user to store the data in their personal storage. So since we are not storing the data, we are just enabler of this decentralized tech. We do not hold accountable behind DPDPA. Is that answer your question?
Yeah, I think that does. That does. So I think, yeah, I don't think we have enough time to answer the questions, but in the Q&A and session feedback QR code, if people have more questions or they would like to set up some time, they can just scan the QR code that is being presented, and we can take this up later as well. So we may continue.
All right. So, Parmesh, next slide. So our vision is very simple: a world where everyone can effortlessly and securely control, manage, and extract value from their data. Let's change data ownership for good together. We have a quiz coming quickly on Discord. You can join the Discord quiz on Affinity server. Uh, Go back to the old last slides, Parmesh. You can scan this QR code, and you will start joining the Affinity Discord server, and there will be quiz coming up shortly there, and we can win exciting prizes on that. And you can encourage each and everyone you to explore the Discord community that we have more than thousand of developer communities there to explain more about affinities and Affinity product and services. With this, I would like to conclude. And thank you. Thank you for giving the time. Stay tuned for the next webinar, and we'll deep dive to more deeper conversation next time. Thank you.